Sacramento County Sheriff Jim Cooper, after spending more than, can you hear me now? Okay, I'll just speak right into it here. After spending more than 30 years in law enforcement, Jim Cooper was elected to become Sacramento County's 37th sheriff and its first black sheriff in 2022. He previously served as the city of Elk Grove's first mayor and in 2014 was elected to the California State Assembly, representing Assembly District 9, which includes the cities of Sacramento, Elk Grove, Galt, and Lodi. He has vast experience in law enforcement and public policy, rising to the rank of captain during 3 decades with the Sheriff's Department, including serving as department spokesman for several years. In 2024, he was appointed to the Peace Officer Standards and Training, or POST Commission, by the California State Senate Rules Committee. He grew up in Sacramento, where he raised his 4 daughters. He is a graduate of the West Point Leadership Academy and the FBI National Academy. He earned a master's degree in organizational leadership from St. Mary's College. Today, he will discuss the mission and accomplishments of the Sheriff's Department, as well as the staffing and enforcement challenges of homelessness, mental illness, and substance abuse. We're very fortunate to have him with us today. Thank you.
Thank you. So can you hear me? Okay, good. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me. So a lot going on. Great to be here. I love talking to folks and engaging the community. That's so important. Right now, it's kind of silly season. It's election year, the midterms. People are running and making all kind of promises on TV. We're going to change this and do that, and they're full of it. They're full of it. So be careful with politicians. And that's yes. Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll use a mic instead. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll do. How's that better? Okay for somebody. So just a lot going on right now. And I watch TV every morning when I'm getting dressed, because we're a crowd that watches TV. Everybody reads newspapers. Everyone else gets their information through the cell phones, which is a whole different thing. But just so much going on. And right now I'm going to talk about some key issues I see and that are out there publicly. And one is mental health response. So I'm sheriff. This is my 4th year now. I got elected in 22. I came in at the end of 22. So I'm doing my sheriff thing, and we get an officer-involved shooting in Sacramento. This guy is trying to commit suicide, and not really a threat to anybody, but our officers show up. He comes at him with a knife. They end up killing him. Another incident, a mom calls, "Hey, my son thinks someone's on top of the house trying to hurt the family, but we're not threatened. We're okay." And we respond. They're there 26 seconds. He charges the officer with a knife. Officer backpedals, falls on the ground. The guy's over him. The officer shoots him. So I'm like, "Oh, time out. These are things we shouldn't be doing." And in the legislature, some folks said, "Hey, you're right. Law enforcement shouldn't go to mental health calls." So at that point, and change the slide, Ed, I went ahead and changed our policy and took a lot of heat from the fire department and from a lot of folks across the state. "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Hey, being mentally ill is not a crime." And I heard from some families that said, "Hey, who are we going to call if you don't respond?" Well, if a person's having an episode and they haven't committed a crime, why are we there? We're not the strong arm of the law. And it's always been that way for so long. So we really changed it. So we'll respond if a crime's been committed, if a crime is being committed, or someone's being threatened other than the person having the episode, and we'll respond. So it's actually worked out pretty good, that we think. And now fires come on board, and they're like, "You know what? You're right. There are calls we shouldn't come to." I'll give you a couple examples. Fires that a call, an individual needs medical attention and will not come out of his room, hasn't committed a crime. We're not going to break down the door to make someone get treatment. I mean, we can't do that. And part of it's the state's fault, because we need a more robust mental health system. Like I said, it's not a crime to be mentally ill. And really, the downtown jail, that's your biggest psych ward in the county, and that's sad. So when Reagan closed all the mental health facilities, it's just crazy. And then the ER docs run bills every year so they can discharge patients fast because you go to the ER, it's lined up with folks that have been transported by the paramedics that are there because of mental illness. And that's just backwards. So, we did it. And it's really worked out well for us because we were going to way too many calls. So we figured it out pretty good. And sometimes just the uniform showing up, it triggers a person. Maybe somebody wants suicide by cop. Kaiser called one time and said, hey, this guy's threatening to commit suicide. He's in his house by himself. Okay, I can send officers to show up. Maybe he wants us to kill him. Maybe he shoots at us and kills one of us, but he's in his own house. He's not threatening anybody else. He has not committed a crime. So we deal with public safety. There's nothing I can arrest him for. We have training, but we're not mental health specialists. No matter, and our training we have so much training, required training every year, every 2 years. There's only so much we can do with that. And just really trying to make folks realize that, because even though the family calls us to help, if it has a bad outcome, I don't want to lose my officers that go off and leave because they use deadly force on someone, or we get sued, which always happens. So it's one of those things. It's like we're really doing what's right. 988 has been a big help. A lot of folks didn't know about 988, and that's the for mental health crises. And they resolve about 70 or 80% of the issues, maybe even higher. But they do a great job. If someone needs help, they can get them help. They'll come out sometimes, not all the time, but it's really a good stopgap measure to help it. Next slide. So they're open 24/7, 365 days a year. Like I said, they're trained experts. We are not. And you can give us all the training you want. At the end of the day, we're still not going to be mental health experts. And all of a sudden you're rushing around with someone and you're using deadly force. There's just too many things happen. You've read about it in the paper, you've seen it nationwide, and it was like, hey, we're going to stop this. And I'm happy that we did it. It's been good. It's worked. Other agencies have called up and asked for our policy. They want to do it. They want to look at it. And it's tough because, families need help. Families struggle every day with loved ones that are mentally ill, but we're not the answer. We can't be the answer. And my heart goes out to folks that say, hey, what do I do? We're at our crossroads. Like I said, we show up and it doesn't always work out that way. It has before, but all it takes is one time for something to happen. So number one, I don't want that bad outcome for the family. I don't want it for my officer. I've had officers go out and leave the department. We had an incident here in Sacramento. This individual cut his 1-year-old son's head off. I had 7 officers go out from one shift. They were off for over a year. Some will never come back. So it's like, I need those guys, those men and women are highly trained, and I don't want to lose them. And it's just different these days with young people. So you have to be very tactful in how you treat them. And that was the issue. So 988 has really helped, and we're trying to get more and more information out there to folks to deal with. Next slide. We do a lot of, and CAD is our computer-aided dispatch. We get a lot of calls every year. So we didn't respond to 0.7%. That's all. Folks thought, hey, the world's falling apart. It's going to happen. 0.7 is not a lot of calls we don't respond to. We still respond to calls. So in the prior year, we had 5 OISs involving someone that had a mental health issue. In 24 and 25, we had 1. And that was the officer, our officer who we terminated, who killed his kid down in Elk Grove. You remember that he stabbed his 11 or 12-year-old to death and then choked his 6-year-old kid to death. And we ended up shooting him on I-5. So beyond him, it really changed the narrative with that. So you think about that, negative outcomes for the family, that's gone. So it's really worked out, and it's not that big of a universe with that. So like I said, it was a tough decision to make, but I think the right decision. And one thing about, how things work, we've always done it this way. Well, just because we've always done it this way doesn't make it right. There are other ways to do things and to look at it, but just super happy with that and how that's worked out. And I know we're going to have questions at the end, so I'll leave you plenty of time for questions. I know some of you are probably chomping at the bit to ask me why we did it, but it's really been effective. Like I said, when people call you and fire, they were like mad. I'm like, you've got four big firemen or women on an engine, and if one person gives you a problem, you can handle it, you know. So they come around though, and they're like, yeah, but you know what? There are calls we shouldn't come to. There's no medical aid other than someone having an episode or have a bad day. So, like I said, the discussion worked, and I'm happy about it. Next slide. Mental health diversion. Mental health diversion. If you're a vet, you've got PTSD, and you commit a crime, okay, your record probably should get expunged. If you have an addiction problem with drugs or alcohol, you get clean, yeah, it should probably get expunged. I'm okay with that. But what happened for mental health diversion, the legislature, when I was there, took it too far and pretty much, next slide. In 2018, they established a mental health diversion program in California. So besides the programs that were in place already and effective were working, and it was very narrow in scope. And what they did, they just opened it up dramatically. So if you've been diagnosed and the diagnosis is not that tough and show treatment's going to help you out, you can get mental health diversion. And for the courts, it says the judge may grant mental health diversion. The way the bill was written, it was you shall grant mental health diversion. So that shall and may are two very different words, where now the way the court reads it is, hey, I got to grant it unless you can prove otherwise. So it's a very hard road to hoe for the DAs to prosecute cases like this. So next slide. So there are 300 disorders in the DSM-5, if you ever heard of it. I'm sure we've got some smart folks in there who have heard of it. But when you read the DSM-5, it is crazy. So you would think ahead of time, someone would diagnose you ahead of time with your mental health disorder. No, they can diagnose you after the fact. And you would think, okay, maybe a psychiatrist or a psychologist does the diagnosis. No, it can be a licensed marriage family therapist to diagnose you. So there's a big difference in your training. Like I said, one person here in our Sacramento area has diagnosed between 200 and 300 evals. This is her statements in court, and each time she got a diagnosis, every time. And in some of these cases, she never interviewed the individual in person. It was by reading the crime report. So how do you really diagnose somebody? And with California, and there's some good, California is really a moderate state. It's a moderate state. I know there's a lot of progressives, but it's real moderate. It's just not reflected that way in the legislature. It's not reflected that way. Next slide. So you can get diversion for murder, voluntary manslaughter, and a lot of things. Well, I'm sorry, not those things, ineligible. Everything else is eligible for diversion. Wow, everything else. What does that mean? Next slide. They got a get out of jail free card because a lot of folks are claiming mental health diversion. And we've had several cases here in Sacramento that will just blow your mind. Next slide. This girl's a toddler, I think 12 or 13 months. Her father tortured her. Her mom was deployed in the military. And the reason I show it to you, it's you can sit up here and talk about stuff, but I'm not trying to, fry your brain. But he was doing that, beating the hell out of this kid and sending video to his wife. He wanted her to come back, drop kicking her, punching her, beating her, severely, and with her. And he did that. And she's probably damaged the rest of her life. Think about that. Another case here in Sacramento. Father got drunk, instigating drunk. He's babysitting his a one-year-old daughter. Fracture skull, broken ribs, ruptured spleen. He kills her. He kills his one-year-old daughter. For murder, you have to prove intent on a murder. To charge someone with murder, you got to prove intent. So typically on these cases, we go felony child abuse because, okay, he's beating the hell out of his kid. Did he really intend to kill his kid? So, that's how it is a jury. You're not going to, well, I didn't intend to do it. You're not going to get a jury, convince a jury to convict someone of murder. So typically in these cases, resulting in death of a child, we charge felony child abuse. So you follow me on that? So they charge that. He claims mental health diversion. Oh, and by the way, mental health diversion, anxiety, depression, erectile dysfunction, caffeine addiction withdrawal, tobacco addiction withdrawal, alcohol addiction withdrawal. You can go in there and find anything if you've read it that anybody in here, including myself, can find something and say, you know what, I have a problem with that. My parents were mean to me as a kid. I was beaten as a kid. You can get a symptom and get diagnosed DSM-5. So he gets out, he goes through a course and completes it. So people show up at the courthouse and the judge is there and they all get certificates. Everyone's clapping, but no one knows who's is charged with what. So San Francisco, his record's expunged. It's wiped clean. So a lot of you have probably done things for your kids or your grandkids and went down and got live scan fingerprint, right? If you want to volunteer in schools or be a coach or something, you live scan. For him, the live scan doesn't exist anymore. It's clear. No record, gone. So I was testifying last year before the Assembly Public Safety Committee on this bill to carve it out just for child abuse. And I said, hey, I go, you guys have sons and daughters, sisters, brothers, nieces and nephew. Are you okay with this individual getting his record expunged and coaching or teaching your kids, your nephews? The bill got voted down in the Public Safety Committee. So they're going to carve back all 300 diagnoses, but I thought child death or child abuse or torture, this is torture case, that's bad enough where, yeah, let's agree on it. And the majority of the public, you folks out here, voters, would say, yeah, if someone does that, you should be eligible for mental health diversion. So now we're seeing folks in jail use it. Someone stole an ATM, mental health diversion, got it. Someone broke in someone's house, stole 40 grand in jewelry, mental health diversion, got it. They're applying for mental health diversion everywhere. And we, you know, on the phone systems, when you're making phone calls in the jail, it's recorded. So when you can do key words, like for mental health diversion, it shot up like 2,000% because they're all talking about applying for and getting mental health diversion because the bar is so low. And you can be diagnosed after the fact. That is insane. Whoever does that? That's what we deal with. That's the law in California. So right now the jails are crowded because everyone's slowing their cases down. And the attorneys are telling them that's their job. Hey, apply for mental health diversion because you will get it. That's the craziness in this. Next slide. You're like, wow, really? So yeah. That's my world I deal with. You know what's crazy is like back in 05, I think, 05, we had 12 child abuse detectives, and now we have 8. We never got made whole because of the recession and budget cuts. And they're doing some horrific cases on child abuse, on the ICAC cases. Internet crimes against children, child pornography is rampant. People online wanting to meet kids and meet up and have sex with 12 or 13-year-old kids. Internet, I say, is a blessing and it's a curse too. So it's just so many bad things happen. Think about before, if you were interested in kids before the internet, where would you go to? There's no pictures. And now with the internet, people trade pictures and videos and just, stuff that makes you sick to your stomach. This case you're gonna recognize. This is high profile going on right now. Next slide. David Allen Funston, case here in Sacramento. This individual, this is around 96, 95, 96. He's a guy you warned your kids about. Never talk to a stranger, never take candy or toys from a stranger, never get in someone's car. He's cruising North Highlands. Victim 5, girl, lures her to his car, drags her and takes her away, goes to his house, takes a bath with her, dresses her up, dresses himself up, molest her. And I've read the reports. I've read all these reports. He did a lot more than molest her. Okay, she can't have kids to this day. She's now like 33 years old. 30 years ago, 33 years old, I talked to her. Put a knife to her throat and said, hey, if you tell anyone, I will kill you at his house. Takes her and drops her off and tells her again, you tell someone, I'll kill you. 7-year-old girl, victim 7. She's in North Highlands, walking along, pulls up, hey, here's some candy. 7 years old, walks up to the car, grabs her arm, pulls her in the car, takes her in the car, molests her, tries to force her to orally copulate him. She says no. He punches a 7-year-old in the face, bloodies her lip, beats her, drives her to Pollock Pines, and kicks her out of the car in Pollock Pines with no shoes on. Okay, wow. 3-year-old boy, North Highlands, 4-year-old boy, North Highlands, drives in the bushes, orally copulates him, makes the boy orally copulate him, then releases him. So they did a law back in, God, when was that? The first one, they did elderly parole, made it 60 years old. I'm 62. They made it 60 initially, and then they took it down to 50 years of age. So as long as you're 50 and you've done 20 years of your sentence, you qualify for elderly parole. A lot of folks working in their 60s and 70s now. I mean, 50s, a lot of folks don't retire at 50, period. That's how it is. So because the law changed, he's eligible because he's done 20 years and he was sentenced to 3 life terms, consecutive, not concurrent, consecutive life terms, plus an additional 20-year sentence. So it comes up for the parole board, they grant it, the governor sends it back, and they grant it. And he was getting out, they were releasing him, but in Placer County, back in 96, he molested a young girl there, and Placer County didn't file charges because why waste the public's money and why put that victim through a trial if he's going to be sentenced to 90 years the rest of his life? He'll die in jail, in prison. But because of California's laws, he was getting out. So the DA, Morgan Geyer in Placer County, files charges. So Mr. Funston thinks he's being released, taken somewhere, and they meet Placer County, and they bring him up here and book him in Placer County jail. Otherwise, he would be out. So now these other cases are starting to come to life about this. And what's also troubling with with the way it's written, we have a lot of guys in their 20s and 30s that are involved in this type of behavior, molesting kids doing this. So in their 20s or 30s, think about that. They do 20 years, they're in their 50s or mid 50s, and they're going to get out. And with Funston, there was nothing wrong. He's not on his deathbed. And to me, some crimes are so bad that you shouldn't get a second chance. And with kids, especially, you messing around with kids, you get no second chances, period. And that's what we're seeing. And this is basically a green light to do it. And it's the majority of the public would never do this. They have no desire. He's got an appetite for kids. The parole board, late last year, they're talking to him, and he talks in that parole board hearing, it's online, how he still fantasizes about young kids and masturbates. You know, and he's trying to control his urges. He tells the parole board this instead of just saying, you know what, like most folks lie and say, nope, I'm done, I've reformed, blah, 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 blah. He's being honest. So the parole board heard from him, he still fantasizes about kids, his appetite's still there. They read the same reports I did. You read the reports, they are horrific. It'll make your stomach churn what he did to these kids. It is horrible. But yet, they don't let him out. And this is just one big story. There are tons of stories like this. Tons. And now that this one really broke and went nationwide, all over the news, you're hearing from other victims and stories that individuals have been released already that are out there and they're supposed to be there for a long time because of the sentences. So it's crazy. A lot of this goes back to Prop 57. When Jerry Brown was governor. And on Prop 57, the supporters of it said, hey, we're going to, because of prison overcrowding, folks are going to be let out early for nonviolent crimes, which is another story, but no sex offenders will be let out. Well, two appellate court rulings say, hey, you know what? You got to let everybody out. You can't just define a certain person. So now all these sex offenders have been getting out. So I'll be honest with you, probably for the last 5 or 6 years, California's been releasing 100 lifers a month. 100 lifers sentenced to life for murder, for child molest, things like this. They're out right now, out amongst us. Yeah, real talk. And that's what we're faced with. We're faced with every day. This one, like I said, this one hopefully changes things and makes it different. But for some reason in California, we're always fighting for kids. We're always fighting for kids. Probably about, I think, 4 years ago or 3 years ago now. I was still in the assembly, so I ran some bills because on human trafficking. Sacramento is a human trafficking epicenter because of the freeways. Obviously, I-5 between Mexico and the Canadian border. So we're on the top like 4 spots in the country for human trafficking. And on that part of it, I lost my thought for a second. You have felony crimes, but there are some crimes that are not considered violent felonies. So it could be a felony, but not a violent felony. So crimes in California right now that are felonies, but not violent felonies, are raping and drugging a woman, drive-by shooting, domestic violence. If I stab you with a knife or a baseball bat or a hammer, torture, it was human trafficking of a child, like 15 laws. And the difference between being classified a felony or violent felony is you're not eligible for early release. So if you're doing some of these bad crimes, maybe you should stay a little bit longer to possibly get the help you need. So here, human trafficking of a child. Okay, so I tried to put the bill through my time in the legislature, assembly, couldn't get it through. So here we come to, this is I think 2 years ago, the Dems had super majorities in both houses. So Shannon Grove runs a bill to make human trafficking of a child a violent felony. Or she's a Republican. And there was a shitstorm basically. Yeah, if someone's trafficking a 12-year-old kid, it should be a violent felony. And the governor stepped in and give him credit on that. And hey, let's get the bill through. They got the bill signed and through. But that bill should have been passed a long time ago. So it's like, I feel like one thing, is in the assembly, you have a voice, but you're one of 120 members. But as sheriff, you have a big bully pulpit on that, and we beat the hell out of it. It's just nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense why we're doing this. So it's really changed. But like I said, we're still fighting this. The mental health aversion to me is a no-brainer. Exclude child molesters or sexually violent predators. Exclude them. Do that. So it's just a constant fight with kids. So a lot of national news shows I was on talking about it, talking about the issues, but this one's big. So we'll see that there's some bills right now in the legislature this year that deal with this. We'll see where they go. But the legislature is tough. And it's ironic. Sometimes you're sitting there with your seatmate and, I'm like, hey, this is a crappy bill. I know it is, but I got to vote for it. I go, no, you don't. Your vote's your vote. No, I got to vote for it. Because both parties are so ingrained that you got to follow leadership and do what they say. That's what's wrong. You got to think for yourself and do what you think is right. But, when you get up here, you can vote how you want because your constituents don't call you. You never really hear from them. So it's just different stuff. So, and this guy, he is evil. I mean, grabbing kids, dragging them, that is a true boogeyman. And what's so scary now with the phones and the onlines and the apps, these guys do the gaming apps to seduce kids. Hey, take a picture. Hey, I'm a 14-year-old girl. I'm really a grown man. Send me a picture of your private parts, and I get it. Hey, send more pictures. I'm going to send pictures to your parents, your teacher, and your friends. And then kids are caught up in that, blackmailing them for money, pictures that they put online. We've had several suicides in California where kids have killed themselves, young kids, 12, 13, 14, that did that. These guys are animals, and it makes it so easy. We've done a lot of students here in Sacramento. You've seen them on the news probably where they're online and some guy's going to meet what he believes to be a 12-year-old girl at a hotel to have sex with her, or a 13-year-old girl, and it's really our officers. We do a lot of cases like that and bust a lot of people, but we're not doing that every day. So we do that probably 4 or 5 times a year because it's a labor intensive operation. So imagine when we're not doing it. These guys are showing up at different places with these young kids and molesting them. It goes on. It happens. It's just, I can't emphasize enough. This is real. This is real talk. There's no sugarcoating this stuff. Not at all. I remember one time in a legislature, I'm talking about some bill for, I forget what, internet crimes against children, child porn. And I hold some book up and it's like how to groom kids. It's like a thick book from the internet and it tells each step by step how you groom a kid to get them and make them your victim. And a lot of things on the internet, people trade stuff all the time. Hey, I've got videos. So I'll have a video of you molesting a kid and we'll trade videos and pictures of that. So we're the big mothership here in Sacramento. So we have the task force is based out of here, but a bunch of other agencies, small agencies in NorCal are part of the task force. So we'll help them with the expertise in doing the warrants. So this one guy, they got a cyber tip in Reading. So basically, most child or all child porn pictures or videos are like a JPEG, a fingerprint. So someone receives something at their IP address, the carrier knows, okay, you download child porn, they tell us, and then we'll deal with it. So Siskiyou County has one detective that does homicides, robberies, burglaries, everything else, and this is there, but they got one detective. So there's only so much you can do. So we're gonna help them hit this guy's house. He's molesting his 2-year-old and his 5-year-old daughter. He's molesting them, sending pictures across the world on that. If we'd not gone up there and helped them, that case never would have been solved. So it's like having your finger in a dike and you're trying to hold back all the water. But besides that, I love my job. I love my job. I have amazing men and women that work for me. They do a great job. It's just a lot of things are politicized. And I'll be honest, in the county, there are no large homeless encampments in Sacramento County, unincorporated. Now, if you go to other places, some of the cities, they have problems because they politicize it. Being homeless is not a crime. 100% it's not a crime. We need to build more housing. But I've gone out in a lot of operations. And for the homeless, you can't build your way out of it. You got to deal with substance abuse and mental illness, period. And no one wants to do that. And some of these folks walking around downtown butt naked, you don't have a trash can. Let's do conservatorship. No, they have to have freedom. They've got to have their freedom no matter what. That's BS. That is BS. Conservatorship for the most severely affected to help them. It's inhumane. But folks don't want to do that. That is a no-brainer. And they drain a lot of resources. They go to the hospital often. So it's a lot of resources being eaten up. And then you have folks that, you ask them, hey, I've got a place for you to stay, blah, blah, blah. I'm good. I've asked dozens of people out there with my officers. They don't want help for whatever reasons. But like I said, in other jurisdictions, they politicize it. That's where those problems are much more pronounced than in the county of Sacramento. We really go out and deal with stuff. Hey, if you want to help, we're going to help you. If not, we're going to deal with you. That's just how it is. You got to be it's tough love with that. And it can't be that way. So we're just trying to fix it, make it work. There's just a lot going on right now, but crime is down. I think we had our lowest homicide rate since 1950. So a lot, which is good. I mean, part of that is the men and women. There's other factors going on too that I won't talk about, but I think we all know kind of what's going on there. But yeah, it really works. We're facing budget cuts. Like I said, we were never made whole from 2005, and now with the feds cutting social services, county wants to put a lot of money towards that. And it's important too, but also it's about quality of life issues. Retail theft. I mean, retail theft was off the hook, and the legislature will not change that. I ran several bills to try and change retail theft, but was it okay to go in somewhere and steal less than $950 and not get charged with a crime? That is insane, especially for a small business. You're a business owner, Target, Walmart, those guys can sustain it. A small business owner can't. Folks just walking in, grabbing stuff and walking out. So it passed by 70%. Every county it passed 70%, even in San Francisco and LA. You know why? The voters were pissed off. They were tired of it. They had enough of it. And that's why it passed. Not one statewide official supported Prop 37 or Prop 36. Not one. Think about that. But the people wanted that. That's one time things happen where when people just get so angry and they change it. Think about anything. Nothing else is passed that high. That's why. Did the legislature fund Prop 36? No, there's no funding for it. We have more folks in jail now. Our population's a little higher because of that, but that's just how it is. You got to deal with that. So it's just these things that, it's kind of a head scratcher sometimes. If I'm a politician and the majority of the public wants something, 7%, I'm voting for that. That's who put me in office. That's what they want, the public. So lots of stuff, but I could talk forever, but I know you guys have some questions, some probably good questions. So let's answer some of your questions. Yes. Okay.
So this guy, he's been rearrested. Is there a statute of limitations for this kind of crime?
No. We're good on that. Pass it up. See, I give you guys plenty of time too. I didn't have all the time.
Okay, question.
Yes.
The parole board that paroled him, number one, who appoints the people on the parole board?
The governor.
Very interesting. Number two, how many people are there on the parole board?
I think maybe a dozen or less, a dozen or less,
I'm sorry.
a dozen or less.
12.
12 or less.
Okay, in order to parole somebody, does it take a unanimous vote or just a majority vote?
Majority.
So 7-5 would parole.
If they're all there.
Yeah.
Hello. Is this on? Oh, okay. This is a little bit of a sidestep, but and I know that you're county. I did want to ask, just in the upcoming here and now, I know we have protests coming up for No Kings. And I know that there's lots of discussion about, is Sacramento going to be in the crosshairs of ICE and perhaps see another Minnesota? Where does the county or the various different agencies that you work with, where are you in all of that with protection, or in the event that we have a deluge, in terms of what we have to look forward to or not in terms of resources?
Sure. So we work with ICE. We have SB 54, so we're precluded from that. No contact with ICE. ICE has been here quite a few times. Sometimes they'll say, hey, we're going to be in this one area. Most times they don't, so we really don't know unless somebody calls in. But I get that asked question a lot. You work with ICE? No, we don't. The law is the law. I don't get to pick and choose what laws we enforce or don't. So that's the way the law is written with that. But they've actually been here, but so far nothing serious, like a Minnesota. When I say that, Minneapolis.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Peter. I read recently that Sacramento has the highest rate of traffic fatalities in the state. And I was concerned about what the sheriff's department is doing to abate this serious issue.
People drive like buttholes, and that's the problem. And I'll be honest, in the legislature, you deal with the insurance companies. This is years ago. Our rates have always been higher here in Northern California than LA. I thought LA, way higher rates. No, we pay more in rates here because of driving, and that's why. And that's how it is. And right now, it's expensive for everybody. It is tough. If you have grandkids, how are they going to afford housing? Everything is so expensive, and it's really about the economy more than anything. Yes.
Yes, thank you, Sheriff. What boggles my mind is when a policeman says they're being threatened. Obviously, they can shoot him, but there has to be some
lethal ways of slowing the person down or without just killing him.
Well, and I agree. We go through that. We have less lethal tasers. We have 10-shot tasers. They're very. We have beanbags, tasers. We use the hell out of those. Sometimes they don't work against everybody. I'll be honest with you. And you do that. Depends on the officer. You may have some big guy like me or some small. We have officers that are 4'11" out there, pushing patrol cars. So you're fighting somebody. You're fighting somebody. It's not always equal. So less lethal will stress the hell out of that. And we tell officers, slow down, get folks there. So you've got multiple options, the beanbag gun, shotgun. You've got a taser with them. And then obviously your handgun or rifle is your last choice. But it doesn't always work with that. And that's one reason we don't go to some of these mental illness calls, because we don't want the bad outcomes. So they try and do that. But, once in a while you get a really bad person and you end up getting involved in OIS. We had a guy out down by Galt. System drives by, his guy's dragging this girl around. This is 2 weeks ago. Officer shows up, we're in the car. The guy says, hey, we're fine. She's like, no, we're not fine. Takes the girl out of the car, talks to the guy. The guy's just being real shady by the car, talking to him and says, hey, I'm going to put you in handcuffs. The guy pulls a shotgun out. And the officer should have shot him earlier. He showed a great deal of restraint. He was by himself, not a big guy. And you're fighting for your life. And I've been out there before. These men and women are fighting for their lives. And it's crazy. He ends up shooting and killing the guy, but he had to. That guy pointed the gun at him. So it happens a lot more than you think. And they show a lot of restraint. Because the thing is, you don't want to ever kill anybody. No one ever wants to do that. They don't go to work, hey, I want to kill someone today. That's why we try and settle these things. In de-escalation, they're taught about that, how to do that and talk to people. Someone's on drugs or alcohol, someone that doesn't care. And there's some really bad actors out there that just don't care. They're evil people. And sometimes folks forget that. And child molesters, you will never rehabilitate.
Hi. First off, thanks for the work you're doing. Oh my gosh, you're exposed to a world that most of us in here aren't even aware of. So thank you for all that. A big question for me. Maybe I'm naive. I've never been to prison. I don't know anybody who's been to prison. But this guy Funston, as I understand it, wouldn't he have trouble surviving in the general prison population? How come he's not beat up or dead or whatever?
That's the crazy thing. It's a code of ethics. Child molesters, they don't like child molesters. They will stab them, beat them. That happens in prison. He's lucky. So we're for moral compass. The prisoners hate him, but the parole board is okay. They trust him. You're not going to go out and do that. Where's the rationale at? There is zero rationale. It is. You can't figure it out.
Over here.
Yes, sorry.
Back to the thing about ICE agents. I always suspect that, when these guys are going around in unmarked cars and have masks on and claim they're ICE and get very physical with people, that they may not be attached to ICE or any part of the government at all. They might just be, extremists with violent fantasies. And so if ICE is in Sacramento, would you be sending officers around to force them to identify themselves, maybe show their faces to show that it matches the picture ID and so forth? And if they're not, what do you do?
Sure. So we've gotten phone calls from citizens. We showed up, determined it's ICE, and then left. We have no jurisdiction. So that's happened a lot. But the majority of these cases, it is ICE. Just like the mask thing they did, my deputies don't wear masks. If you're working undercover, you'll wear a mask. Or a SWAT team making an entry, they'll wear a mask for in case they deal with explosives or liquid. Otherwise, we don't wear masks. So the state passes that bill that you can't wear a mask. They have zero control over the feds. Zero control. It might be a feel-good bill. I feel good about it. They have zero control to make the feds wear a mask. But here I'm going to ask you, if you're a state senator passing this bill, make it applicable to everybody in California. CHP was exempted. So was any state agency, they were exempted. What the hell? That's BS. And the bill, like I said, if it can have an impact on ICE, that's great. It has zero impact. They have zero control of the federal government. Fed trumps everybody. But it's the legislature. Hey, we're doing this. Blah 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 blah. I'm just being honest with you. That's BS. Because your local SAC PD, none of the departments around here wear a mask. They haven't worn mask. So it's just like I said, you get these laws that come through every bill. We're dealing with people who are trying to survive and pay their bills and do that, and we're passing bills like that. And you can't declaw your cat. I'm not a cat person, though, but just these bills. There's so many important things we should be addressing with people, and we're doing these dumbass bills. That I said it, yeah, dumbass bills that really don't impact the public, and it's like I said, that's what we're dealing with. More important stuff, and that's what we got to do. We got to address the population. That's just it's frustrating sometimes.
Excuse me, with what you know, what is your opinion of why the things that should be voted to benefit everybody's safety and aren't passed by the prevailing political climate in this state?
It's ideological on both sides. That's just how they are. It's how they're set up, and I would want to bang my head so often, but I didn't. It's just, hey, you realize
So how do we-
it just is what it is, and you're trying to fight it and change it, but everybody, both parties, are just so ingrained, and that's really, I've seen polls and stuff. California is more middle of the road than we see, but you vote on stuff you don't know. You voted for Prop 57.
So we're voting in people, and they vote what they want for themselves.
Yeah, you hold them accountable, and then you get duped. I will say that the voters get duped. So Prop 57 let out child molesters. You were told that sex offenders wouldn't get out. Prop 47 was called a Safe Streets and Schools Initiative. Prop 47 changed the whole theft piece. That was the issue. Prop 47. So, hey, Safe Streets and Schools Initiative, we don't want low-level drug offenders in jail. So Prop 47 changed that. It just changed 7 crimes, drug and theft crimes, from felonies to misdemeanors. But in California, when you do a felony, they swab your cheek for DNA. So when this case hits, in the majority of cases, for a rapist, sexual assault, murder, you get a cold case hit. That cold case hit can be because somebody was arrested for a felony, for drugs or theft. 10 states did studies that concluded that, as did Australia. But now those cold case hits have dropped by probably 6,000 or 7,000 because we knew it was from theft and drug crimes. Because those are misdemeanors now, you're not getting DNA anymore. And the majority of people never give DNA. The majority of folks never get arrested for a felony. So who are we protecting?
And one thing, I have no more questions, but I really recommend that anyone in this room go for a sheriff's ride along. It's really educational. It's wonderful. The guys are great.
I'll be honest, the big thing about sheriff, you're elected. You voted in. I'll be honest, a chief, they have a boss, that city manager or mayor or council. Anyone that works for the state, the governor's the boss, or that secretary. So sheriff, you're able to say a lot of things and do things because you're elected. You hold elected office. But I'm just being honest, chiefs, and I've been a mayor and a councilman. It's different politics. It's very political there, and that's some of the issues in some of the big cities. San Francisco's turned around because the mayor. But it was so dysfunctional, it got so bad, it basically burned down. And that's what it takes sometimes on Prop 36, and to get that bad to change it.
I have just a quick question.
Sure.
Due to the climate with Iran and the war that's going on, have you heard of any credible threats? Because they're saying there are threats that we may need to be aware of, that might be terrorism or something, any type of pushback going on?
So we're in contact with our fellow partners regarding Iran. No threats yet, no credible threats yet, but we probably have some lone wolf incidents. Likely, that's more than likely to happen like that. We don't know for sure, but people just get an idea and all of a sudden they want to do something. So, we're very cautious. We're very on guard with that. and they've got their finger on the pulse for the most part. So, hopefully nothing happens. But if something does, we're prepared. But you never know, some bad actor gets an idea in their mind to go do something.
Sheriff Cooper, we've got 28 folks that are remote to this broadcast. And one of our members, Joyce Skalbeck, would like to know, when is the drug sales and the use at Country Club going to get stopped?
Country Club Center? I haven't heard about it, but my spokesman's here, and we'll check into that. And our Country Club, I know, is Country Club Center. So Watt El Camino. So we'll check into that, but I haven't heard about that. Thanks for typing in.
Good afternoon, Sheriff. Can you hear me?
Yes.
As a child of television, when we do see on television policemen shooting people, they seem to empty clips. Is that standard operation?
So you're trained to stop, and the thing is, hey, shoot him in the leg, shoot him in the arm, because when you're shooting and you're involved in a critical incident, your heart's pumping, and it's hard to hit somebody. So they go for center mass to stop it. And just like Navy SEALs or special operations guys, they shoot probably 10,000 rounds a year. Most law enforcement folks qualify probably 4 times a year with their weapons. So, I mean, that's what those guys are, precision. They do that. So it's really tough. You're under stress. And I'll be honest, a lot of times in shootings, they miss. You'll fire shots, but a lot of shots miss too. So they don't always hit. But with body cameras make it good. They're a great thing. It shows what happened, good, bad, or indifferent. So, and what was interesting, a lot of agencies are just coming to body cameras. It's just, there's a lot. There's a lot involved in that. Yes.
Yeah, I read in the paper this morning about a HUG Act that applies to juvenile facilities and state prisons. My question is, what about county sheriff's jails?
So what's a HUG Act?
It would allow for non-sexual physical contact between adults locked up in California prisoners and their visitors.
There's a law on that. They get visitation right now. They've had 2 homicides where folks in prison got conjugal visits and killed their wives or whoever it was. So I think there's some merit in that. But, I also think if someone's done something so bad, Mr. Funston, I think you give up certain rights. There has to be a moral compass on that would I be okay with him having contact? No. You lost that by virtue of the crime you committed. So for a lot of other things, I don't have a problem with that. But in prison, there are no low-level offenders in prison. They're serious offenders and violent offenders. So it's just like, oh, I'm in prison for drugs or something like that. No, it's all serious stuff. So right now in the downtown jail, we'll total in our jail about 3,400 inmates. They all average 5 felony convictions. So that says a lot about them.
Do you, no pressure. Do you think that the proposition that passed regarding the theft, do you think that was well written, Bill, yourself?
I think we tried to get it passed. So check this out. In 2020, before then, so in 2016, I'm in the legislature. I tried to get a bill through on Prop 47. It gets killed. So I said, screw it. I'm going to run my own proposition. I'm going to raise money and put a bill on the ballot for this. And so I started raising money. So the lobbyists get called in to the administration's office and told, if you give Jim Cooper money for his bill, we're going to kill your bills and for you contract lobbyists, we'll kill your clients' bills. True conversation. So I raised $1 million, and that went to gather signatures. So we put it on the ballot. So we gather signatures and paid signature gathers on the ballot. So we started raising money, and Target's supposed to, we're in for $1 million. They get pressured by the administration. And mind you, Target's in Minneapolis. They're shareholders. What can California do to Target or Walmart? So all those big corporations back then sucked. They didn't want to put any money into the ballot. They're losing millions of dollars with closing stores. Or not, but they're losing dollars closing stores. They don't want to invest. So we lose some money, but then we have mayors coming in, writing checks these 7 women wrote checks for totaling like $7 billion opposing Prop 20. So we got our butts kicked in 2020, and Prop 20 addressed the theft piece and also addressed the DNA piece. So to me, it was a great bill. And then obviously things get really bad. They run Prop 36, and Prop 36 wins. But you have people that coming in, Mark Zuckerberg's wife cut a check. I mean, the big billionaires drove that.
Sheriff Cooper, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.